All right, round 9 done and dusted. So it can only mean one thing. It's CKM Red Rugby League's round 9 review. Luke Jobson and Danaan Kerr taking you through the news, views, and highlights of a bit of a topsy-turvy round. Danaan, how you doing, mate?
Yeah, not too bad. Yourself?
Oh, look, you can't complain. Our boys are on top of the ladder, so can't argue with that.
And, thank you, Sportsbet, for the ridiculous odds for Steve to be the top to score a try either first, second, or third.
Hey, we'll don't jump the gun just yet. We'll get to that towards the end, but we'll get rolling straight into Thursday night football. And for the first 20 minutes, you would have thought that the Cowboys were premiership contenders with how they played, but the Roosters just put on a bit of a masterclass in the end. Matt Ikuvalu with 5 tries. The Roosters up 42-16.
Yeah, it was just complete domination. It's the difference between the top and the bottom this season seems to be bigger than most. The actual completion percentage-wise, Cowboys had more. They completed an extra set than the Roosters, but it just goes to show how good the top teams are and what they can do with the ball.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say that the Cowboys are missing Michael Morgan a ton. Val Holmes off after half time with his ankle obviously still not 100%. I mean, you could tell in the first half he was just MIA, even on the wing. They tried to hide him out there and it didn't work at all. And, I mean, we saw as a result Ikuvalu, who in theory wasn't playing until about 5 minutes before kickoff, comes in for Josh Morris, who there's been conflicting reports about whether it's his hams. Oh, Brett, sorry. Thank you. Good call. This is why we pay you the big bucks. Yeah, no, Brett Morris out with a groin or a hamstring. It's one of the two. He was looking more towards his groin. But yeah,
I'm pretty sure it's groin. But my biggest thing, it's my pet hate in rugby league. If you're on top, don't take the 2 points. Kyle Felt misses the penalty goal when the Cowboys are up 6-0 and they were right on top. The Roosters scored off that next set of 6. It was game over.
Yeah, the Roosters just completely flew through it. I mean, that's 2 weeks in a row now that the Cowboys have had 42 put on them. It's pretty bad. It's really bad. Isan Masters again.
Paul Green has to go.
Oh, you think?
He's worse off than McGregor right now. Dean Pay is the only other coach that I would put in the same category right now. But if you put the two rosters against each other, Green's got the far better roster of the two between him and Pay. Honestly, if he never coached a guy called Jonathan Thurston, I think he would have been sacked a long time ago.
Mate, you are getting torn to shreds by those who are going to be watching this. I agree, though, in the sense that Paul Green is under a bucket load of pressure. I think he's got till the end of the season to bring the Cowboys back up to it because, granted, the season is shorter this year. There's no denying that. But the Cowboys still only are a win outside the 8. They're on 6 points with a multitude of teams, including, Lord forbid, the Titans. Didn't think I'd be saying that 3 weeks ago. And
just because you're sitting just outside the 8 this year, it doesn't matter. If you're not, looking at the live ladder as it stands, Souths are in 6, and I don't give them a chance of winning the title. Put it that way.
I think if the Cowboys make the finals, Paul Green has one more year. But it's him and Dean Pay who have their heads on the chopping block right now.
Yeah, definitely, 100%.
I definitely can't say that he's got to go. I don't think he's got to go just yet. but they're in some trouble. In saying that, we can't harp too much on the Cowboys because the Roosters, for what it's worth, they're missing 4 of their top 17 on Thursday night and didn't miss a beat.
The Roosters they're going off Teddy, who's the best player in the world, and I tell you what, Kiri's probably the second best. Those two they carved up, and they pretty much carve up every side they play. The forwards do it. It's simple. If you watch back, it's really simple. The Roosters, they just do the simple stuff right. It's not like they do anything flashy. The forwards do their job in the middle, the backs do their job on the outside. Everyone has a role in that team, and everyone does their job. And they can bring in. They've got the backup that if anyone goes down injured, they've got that backup. They know their role. Everyone knows their role. Whatever position you're filling, this is your job. Do your job. We'll win the game.
Yeah, no, Takeaho was fantastic up front. Tupanua coming off the bench, fantastic as well. I mean,
exactly.
As much as the Roosters get crap about the salary cap, they just build it up. They build the roster.
They can't be over the salary cap this year. They lost $2.5 million last year. Yeah, this year they're fine for the first time in at least 3 years. They're good finally.
Now we can't be getting slander suits up against us.
Let's talk about the Friday. What I reckon's a Friday upset.
Oh, mate. After 8 minutes, I message you, and I think that my multi's gone because there's no chance that the game's going less than 50. An hour and a half later, we're talking about the Titans as the most improved team of the competition over the last month with the 16-12 upset over the Warriors.
It's between them and the Dragons, but they never gave up. Even that, as you said, they were 12-0 down after 8 minutes. And Roger Tuivasa-Sheck was back for the Warriors. Everything was looking good. They missed Nikorima. I think that's what it was. They just missed Nikorima. The Titans had one of those games. Normally they don't put them that close together. But that's 2 wins in 3 weeks, I believe. Yeah. Normally with the Titans, they're normally 2 wins in 2 months or something like that. But they I don't know if it's got to do with the coach, but they've sort of they're starting to get that attitude of just, we're not going to give up. Just because someone scored a couple of points against us, we're not going to give up here, which is good. It makes the viewing good.
Yeah, Justin Holbrook came over from St. Helens, I think it was, with that huge rap, as being a brilliant coach, a mastermind of the game. And you have to say, for a roster that on their best day goes 17 deep.
It's second worst roster in the comp. The Dogs have the only roster that would be worse, in my opinion, would be the Bulldogs.
Yeah, but you wouldn't think it. Just they play nitty gritty. You look at the team list. You have Bo Firma and Bryce Cartwright, both of them second rowers playing in the centre, and Firma was outstanding. Tremaine Spry, his first touch of a football in first grade was a knock on. Came back and he didn't have an outstanding game, but it was still it was a solid debut. You can't argue with that.
You can't complain with the Titans. It's like just them as like they're gelling, and I think it's the coach. I think the biggest talking point coming out of it is the Warriors. Are they finally too homesick now that they can't beat someone like the Titans?
I don't think they're homesick, but we know that Mamalo, Fusatua, Ignatius Parsi, and I believe Isaiah Papali'i are going home after next week.
That's what I mean. Are they already thinking about going home before this game?
Mamalo, I don't think so. Look, honestly, probably not, because they would have been thinking about that from the moment that they came over. But it's tough because we posted something earlier in the week about the Warriors being immortalised as a team, not necessarily based on their performance, but based on the sacrifice that they're making by moving from. And yes, it is.
Last. they could come last and still be it'd be one of the proudest moments of that club's history, just because of what they've done this year and what those players have sacrificed to keep this competition going.
I don't. There are sparks of brilliance with the Warriors, and obviously Roger, his first try, just coming off a scrum, too big, too strong. Mamalo, again, just playing like Kenny Mamalo does. He's a gun. But I think more of it is the Titans this week than it was the Warriors. The Warriors weren't great in attack, but the Titans, and you look at someone like Keegan Hipgrave, he played 67 minutes on the weekend, and for about 60 of those, he had a bum shoulder.
Is that the coach? Is that what the coach is driving into these players? That wasn't there. I don't think it was there last year anyway. Is that part of the coach, that never say die attitude that he's brought over from England?
Quite possibly. And I mean, you look at it now, both of these teams now on 6 points apiece, and you just spoke about 6 points just outside the 8. You can't say this, and that. But in the 20 game season, where 8th place right now is the Tigers going 4-5, that's
if it wasn't for for and against, the Titans within 2 weeks could be sitting comfortably in the 8. You are 100% right. That game against the Eels that they got put 50 odd on against them has really hurt them in the for and against side of things.
Yeah, well, they've got the worst for and against right now at the -123. I mean, the Dogs are -120, Broncos are 109. That
gives you an idea. The Broncos, the Bulldogs are 120 odd, and they've only won the one game. Gives you an idea of how bad the Titans have been when they've been bad. So,
but can we say there's an outside shot of a finals appearance?
There's too many teams above them, but I don't see them coming last. Which for the Titans, I think every Titans fan would take that.
Yeah, I don't think you're too far off on that statement. As for the Warriors, next week after the game, I think it's against the Sharks. They lose their 2 starting wingers. They lose a bench prop, potentially 2 bench props. Do they just from that become wooden spoon contenders, even with the 2 games?
This is the big thing about the bubble that's potentially occurring between Australia and New Zealand. This is the loans. You look at some of the best Warriors players this season have been loan players. It's like the make or break. Imagine them bringing in someone like Annie Cavallo. If these guys go home, this is the chance. They've just brought in Jack Hetherington, who I thought was one of, if not their best player on the weekend, and he just started on the bench. I think that's probably got to do more with he's getting used to the team. But that's the thing with this loan system, which they're talking about could happen further down the track post-COVID. There's first-grade players at other clubs that just aren't getting a run right now. The Warriors are going to benefit from that for the rest of the year. I don't think they hit the spoon because they're just going to get talent coming in. The issue is the talent's going to be constantly changing by the looks of what's already happened. Due to that, they're not going to put enough wins on the board to make the 8.
I'll give you that one because is it Fasila Mawali, the Roosters? I hope that's his last name and not Big Tino's.
It's something there.
So I apologise if I butchered that. But
he was playing well for him until all the Roosters got injured and he had to go back.
Yeah, Roosters recalled him. Hetherington's gone for 4 weeks. Potentially that could go and become a season-long loan. But
yeah, go the Warriors. They're everyone's second team right now. So I tip them most weeks. Fingers crossed.
We can hope. We can always hope. Moving on to the second Friday night game, the Bunnies and the Tigers. And look, never mind everything that happened. Dane Gagai with his hat trick. The big talking point out of this one is old mate Grubby Reynolds, Josh Reynolds with a let's be real, it was an accidental kick. I don't think he should be getting a suspension for it. And Latrell Mitchell with the biggest dog shot, the second biggest dog shot of the season.
It's the biggest talking point of the season. Well, it should be anyway, but because it's Ben Cummins, it just gets swept under the rug. Accidental or not, Josh Reynolds strikes another player. It's a kick. Coming from the referee background, would have been happy for him to be sent.
Really?
The thing is, if he's sent, yes. Now, let me explain. If he's sent, that's it. That's his punishment. He doesn't need 2 or 3 weeks because the punishment's been served straight away. It was an accident. You stuffed up. There's your week. It's not even a full week. There's your suspension. You've served it. And this is something that happens a bit more in the junior rep side of things, where if you get sent, depending on the time in a game, they can sort of give you a bit of leniency. It's all right, you've just missed a game. You don't need to miss another game. Latrell Mitchell, on the other hand, if you'd done that in King's Cross, you'd be in a paddy wagon. He should be getting 6 weeks minimum. That was a complete and utter dog shot. It's a grub of an act. I've got nothing wrong. I'm one of those guys that, bring back the biff, that type of person, shoulder charge, etc., which people in today's age don't like. But in saying that, that was a king hit from behind. He punched Reynolds in the face from behind, and if you'd done that on the street, you would be in the back of a paddy wagon.
Based on the fact that you said cross, if he does that in the cross to the wrong person, he's not in a paddy wagon.
Exactly, and that's the difference. Reynolds, he went for the ball, he missed, he stuffed up, he striked another player. He kicked another player in the face. That's it.
Like, I'm not disputing that it shouldn't be on report, because you're right, at the end of the day, he's kicked another player in the head. But his full intent...
Does he deserve 3 weeks for it? I think he's getting 3 weeks.
The only reason why he's getting 3 weeks is because he's got loading.
Well, that's what he doesn't deserve 2 weeks for an accident. But South, if Campbell Graham broke his jaw from that, Reynolds is sent. Why does a player have to be severely injured for someone to be sent?
So here's my question to you. From that referee background, why is it that Leilua gets 4 and 10 in the bin, but Latrell doesn't? Is it because there hadn't been an incident prior to that game? Or is it that the bunker is screwed up?
See, I got to be careful what I say here to make sure the page doesn't get in trouble. Adam G's useless. I'm of the opinion Leilua could have also been sent because it was a soft dog shot, but it was a dog shot with 2 minutes to go. Honestly,
it's the worst punch in rugby league since Ben Flower in the Super League Grand Final 5 years ago.
Yeah, it's not that bad, but it was the fact. It's the fact Mitchell done it blindsided. Game, but this is the talking point. This incident is the talking point. If both of them are sent, you're talking more about the game because it's 12 on 12. People don't care if it's 12 on 12, and that's the biggest thing about this. We're talking about, should Reynolds have been sent? Should Mitchell have been sent? You can't have 12 players for a game, blah, blah, blah. Why not? Why can't you have 12 on 12 if it's warranted?
Yeah, look, let's get off that very quickly. We'll go over the game. The Bunnies out to an 18-0 lead. Dane Gagai, a hat-trick. Usually saves that for Origin, but he's got himself a trifecta. The Tigers, 2 tries in 5 minutes to pull themselves back in, including the kid on debut in Reece Hoffman. But, unfortunately for him, a lot of the tries are, between him and Moses Mbai, their fault for trying to jam in too quickly. And by the time the Tigers had got rolling, it was too little too late.
Yeah, from the game point of view, it's probably Gagai's best game of the season. Probably last 3 seasons for South, actually. James Roberts comes back firing. It looks like the break's done him the world of good. Adam Reynolds. When was the last time he missed 4 conversions? I don't remember that ever happening. To be honest, the scoreline definitely flatters the Tigers. South completely dominated for the first 60 minutes, and it could have been, geez, if Reynolds converts 26-0, and if it's 26-0, I don't know if the Tigers actually score anything in the final 10, 20 minutes. It could have got a lot worse.
Look, it is what it is. Everyone, I think, is hoping for we are ninth again. The boys from Balmain, we are ninth again. We're all hoping for it. As a rugby league community, they're 8th at the moment by 26 points or 24 points, on the points differential. And I think that segues nicely into the Sharks Panthers game. 80 points at Estrada Jubilee. 4 tries for Charlie Staines, Stephen Crichton with a couple of his own. And it wasn't as if the Sharks, I think, played terribly. It's just the Panthers got a run on and just went ham.
It's the same type of thing. This game was over before the half an hour mark. I remember sending a message to you prior to the start of the game. It's raining. I'm going to tip the unders here. The unders were gone before half time.
What was the under? 36?
39, and it was pretty much gone at half time. Well, the unders I picked anyway. Panthers just... It was one of those games, and this is why they are a threat. Doesn't matter who they're playing. Occasionally, they'll put this performance on, and they'll still leak a few tries, but they'll put on 4 or 5, and they won't stop. They will just dominate, and it's one of those things. Like to beat the Roosters, to beat the Parramatta. Let's not talk about Parramatta as the premiership contender just in that conversation, because they don't have the experience. But come grand final day, if it's Penrith versus the Roosters or Penrith versus the Storm, they need this start to win. This is the type of start that's going to win you a comp, which is why they are a premiership threat, because it doesn't matter what team they versed. They come out firing, and it's amazing footy to watch. Like, the highlight reel is just insane. They just don't stop. And the amount of talent that club has, it's the biggest junior rugby league pool in the world, and they just have the talent right now to pick whoever they want. Second someone gets injured, they can just pick the next bright young thing coming through, and they don't seem to get it wrong. The issue they normally have is holding on to the talent.
You could say the same about Parramatta. You look at it, and you look at the young talent coming through. Dylan Edwards pushed Moylan out 5 years ago. Stephen Crichton pushed out Dean Farre, who's now got to try and fend off of Charlie Staines for a spot in the 17. You have Luai holding out Tyrone May, who before his scandal was one of the best up-and-coming 5'8" in the competition. Cleary's...
Don't forget Burton. Don't forget Burton there as well.
Yeah, Matt Burton's only 20.
This is the issue with the Panthers. It's a 17-player team. They could have a top 21 every week, and you could put 4 of those players in most other teams that don't make their 20, that don't make their 17.
Well, I've listed 5 players there. I haven't
May Burton. Charlie Staines after his game on the weekend, those are 3 players that could fit in almost. I reckon they could fit in every single side in the bottom 8 right now. You could find a spot for those 3.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't even looked at the forwards yet. You got Billy Kickout, who was a revelation last year. Liam Martin, Isaiah Yo's not that old. He's only 24 or 25, I think.
Well, Jack Etherington's another one we were speaking about. He didn't even play this game because he's with the Warriors. No. He's a chance of starting with the Warriors in a week or 2. This is how good their talent pool is right now. This is why they are a premiership threat. The hardest part about coaching a side like that is picking your best 17.
So where does Dean Fare fit? Does he fit? We know there's talk of him going to the Super League, but
the issue with going to the Super League right now, there is no Super League right now. Dean Fare. When's the last time someone got dropped after scoring 4 tries? I think we may see it this weekend coming.
Mate, arguably, if you're going to drop, if you drop anyone, it's going to be Brent Naden, and it's not a knock on Naden at all, because Naden's like the way Fare's going, Naden could be back in 2 weeks with a Fare injury, but you envy the depth of Ivan Cleary and the headache that he has, and a great headache at that.
Well, and that's it. Really, if it wasn't for him scoring 4 tries, if he only scores a double, you're not even talking about him holding his position, I don't think. But this is what makes a premiership winning side. It's the same with your Cavallo. The second your top player comes out, someone else can slip straight in, pick up the pieces, put in a masterclass. This is what makes a premiership winning team. And this is why the Panthers, I think this year, they can definitely make the grand final. We've seen though in the past, experience helps on the big day. So if they come up against a Melbourne or a Roosters, it's tough, because the other team, whoever they verse, if you combine the 17 of either of those two sides against a Panthers or a Parramatta or anyone else, you've got more than 100 games of finals experience. Gee, if you look at those two sides, you probably, if you put all their players together, you're probably looking north of 150 in finals experience games compared to less than 50 for both.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going through the draw at the moment for the Panthers, and look, maybe you could in theory say the Raiders are going to be a test in a couple of weeks' time, depending on their injuries.
Hodgson is gone.
I mean, we'll get to that. Panthers
scratch him. See you later. Just don't even talk about it.
Panthers don't play a top 4 team until round 18, and it's against our boys in Parramatta.
Brilliant.
So let's
talk about the game of the round anyway. Let's move on. We've talked about the Panthers long enough. The Sharks, they're not a threat. They've got Andrew Fafita injured. They've got Moylan injured. Let's not worry about that. Let's talk about the game of the round, Broncos versus Bulldogs.
Mate, if this is the game of the round, I question what's going on inside that thick skull of yours. 26-8. Broncos up over the Bulldogs. In my defence, I'm going to backtrack a little bit. I said the Broncos had a chance if they targeted Nick Meaney, and they did. But, geez, I don't know if it's the Broncos playing well for the first time since COVID break, or the Dogs playing like cats.
I tell you what it was. It was TPJ playing out of – TPJ's playing as good as he can. He controlled that game. He was an absolute beast, and he was the difference. I don't actually know if he was given the man of the match status or not, but from my point of view, watching it from a TV, he seemed to be in everything the Broncos done. Late offloads, try assists.
Tries. Scored one in the 15th.
Yeah, scored one himself. I'm trying to think, did he actually put a little kick through at some point, which ended up being a forced dropout?
Oh,
I think he did. I think there was a grubber off a loose carry, and he ended up getting a goal line dropout there at some. Like, he was the difference. His one-on-one battle with Thompson, first game in the NRL, was stuff of old memories. You don't see forwards attack each other like that anymore. It was so good to see. I love that Pommy aggression. Thompson, he's unfortunately joined the worst team in the comp. You'd love to see him be in the starting 13 of one of the the top 8 sides just to see that aggression week in, week out, because he looks like he's built for our game.
He reminds me
But
of
yeah,
he reminds me of Gareth Ellis.
yes, yeah, that he's got what it takes, but is he going to be in a good enough side to show it?
I mean, you can argue as much as you want about him playing for the Bulldogs. I think he showed it, but look, I think the focus here isn't necessarily on the Broncos, although you have to think that that's the confidence boost they need. Corey Oates playing his best game. I say he's played his best game of the season. He only went for 5 runs, 17 tackles, that got himself a 4-pointer. Probably looked the most threatening he's been. TPJ supposedly has been asking Seabold for a couple of weeks to play in the middle, to have that combination with Haas and Carrigan, and it's worked. Azarko, one would think that he was playing for his career at the Broncos this week, goes on, scores 2 tries and kicks a couple of goals. But I think the talking point out of this week, never mind all of that, is whether Dean Pay's going to live to see another week.
Who do you bring in? Who's better right now? That knows the Bulldog, the family club, that club that likes that rich history, the club that got rid of Des Hasler because they didn't like the way he coached, even though he took them to 2 grand finals.
That is the $64 million question. And there was something, I can't remember who said it this week, but I remember seeing it on Twitter. One of the journos, it might have been Bulldog Richie, actually. It could have been Dean Ritchie, saying that he thinks that it should be someone from within, because we saw with Des Hasler that it wasn't the right fit because they brought in someone externally. It wasn't, Dean Pay, same thing, brought in externally. But I couldn't tell you from a bar of soap who they have as the assistant.
No, the Bulldogs' issue right now isn't the coach; it's the players. They play for that coach. People tipped the Bulldogs this game not because they're good, but because they don't give up. Now, they don't give up because they play for the coach. They are, on skill, the worst side in the comp. But if a game only went for 60 minutes, they'd probably be slightly higher on the ladder because they just do not give up. They're just not good enough. It's that simple. They are not good enough. That salary cap is still destroyed from when Des Hasler was there. It's next year, I think Foran's going to go from $1 million a year player down to 200,000. So there's 800 to play with straight away. I think James Graham is now off the books as well. There's money coming. Once the money's in, I think the coach is right. They just need better control. Raylene Castles is out of the picture now. She was terrible. Look what she's done for Australian Rugby Union. It's now non-existent. The biggest issue they've got is their finance, and unfortunately in this game, unless you're going to cheat the cap, finance takes 2 to 3 years to fix at minimum.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the Dogs coaching. I'm looking at Wikipedia. It's the first link I could find that has everyone listed. So if it's wrong, don't yell at me. David Pena, maybe. A solid playing career, has been at the Dogs for a while. You could also go with Steve Georgalis, I think it's Georgalis. The Intro Super Cup coach for the Dogs, took them to the title in 2018. Has been there since 2012. Didn't play
but
for
none
them.
of these guys, none of them are better than Pay though, and that's the thing. Why would you get somebody that's you're going to have to pay out? And remember, the salary cap. There's going to be a salary cap for coaches coming in soon. So why would you pay the guy out if you're going to have more room in the salary cap so he can actually pick a team that he wants more so than a team that he's being gifted?
But okay, so let me ask you this, and then we'll move on to the Sunday games. George Arliss took the 2018 Dogs Intrust Super Cup team to a premiership. That team had the likes of Brandon Wakeham, had the likes of Remus Smith, Marcelo Montoya, Nick Meaney, Jeremy Marshall-King. I think Katoa was in there. Lockie Lewis was in there. Holland, Harper, Faitala Mariner spent more time, I think, in Intrust Super Cup that year than in first grade. Jake Avarillo, Jack Cogger, I think might have been Knights then, but Christian Crichton was over that year. That's a lot of this year's first grade squad. And yes, okay, it was reserve grade, but that's still a premiership in the second tier of Australian football. Surely, unless you can bring in Eddie Jones, surely you go to the guy who's been coaching his butt off in your reserves, knowing that he's coached a lot of the guys in the top 30.
I don't think it changes, though, because that's the thing. You're talking about a side that was good enough to win the second division. Garth Brennan took a whole bunch of players up to Panthers with him. From the Panthers, to the Titans. Just because you're a great second division coach doesn't mean you've got what it takes. They need a Bellamy with this current crop. I don't think, I don't even think a Wayne Bennett right now helps this crop. But as I said earlier, salary cap wise, they're going to have more than $1 million to spend next year. Now, depending on how well they spend that, you could buy 3 to 4 gun players on $1 million. That, when I say gun, I don't mean your top of the range, but you could buy two good backs, two good forwards.
Adam Elliott type players.
Exactly. You could buy 4 of them, and next thing you know, they're not 16th, they're 10th, and they're just outside the top 8. And then the following year, they've got another $1 million to spend, and all of a sudden you've got, oh geez, this side's looking like they might make a run for it very soon, and you start picking up players similar to what the Knights were like. The Knights were looking so bad, couldn't get anyone. Then got Ponga, then got Pearce, then got Clemmer. And all of a sudden you get one, and you get another, and you get another. But it's not the big names. It's the little ones that sign before the big names. The Dogs, they're in that position, and I think Dean Pay, he deserves at least the end of next season.
You think Pay deserves another year and a half?
Yeah.
I think you're dreaming.
With what he's walked into, I don't think there's another coach in the game right now that does better, apart from maybe Bellamy.
I think you're dreaming, but you know what? We're going to move on. I'm going to bite my tongue. We'll save that for another day. Final game of Super Saturday. Melbourne 20-14 winners up against the Raiders. Not so much a fantastic performance from the Storm, more than a huge injury blow to what was one of the premiership contenders at the start of the year, and what was an absolute dog shot of a call to send Bailey Simonson off and arguably cost the Canberra Raiders the game.
I agree. That was shocking. I don't think it cost them the game. I think what cost them the game is the season-ending ACL to Hodgson. Yes, the try was terrible. That come off the back of the 10 in the bin. That was one of the worst calls of the season. It was just a good game. Very competitive from both sides. Melbourne, they just do what it takes. We're gonna have to mention it. It was Cameron Smith's 300th win.
Yep.
Yeah, we won't talk about those extra wins when they were over the salary cap.
Easy down, boy. Easy
there. But no, they were the better side, even with the terrible, again, poor poor referee Atkins, he sends it upstairs, and the video ref puts him in a position where they just get blasted on the field. I think it happened more than one occasion. I think it was the Elliott try. I only got one. Was it Elliott? Yeah, Elliott Whitehead. It was a no try. I only saw one replay, and the replay I seen, it looked good. I might be wrong. It might have been a knock on.
Yeah, it was a knock on.
But again, it was a penalty for dissent again, because Atkins has sent it upstairs. I believe he sent it upstairs as a try. He goes, "Can you just double check this?" Next thing you know, it's come down, no try, and bang, penalty for dissent, because he's just getting blasted from the video ref. Or I don't know if is that a sign that referees need to just go with the gut feeling a bit more? Just, mate, it's either this or it's that, and just there was talk the other day that they're going to introduce a couple more captain's challenge and pretty much get rid of the video ref, except for if a player challenges it. I think.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
The more this happens, the more I like it, because every week, even the bunker still gets crap wrong so often. Just the game's going so quick now that we don't see mistakes. We don't see as many mistakes from the referees because there's no time to go back. That's the best thing about the 6 again rule. There's no time to go back to see, did the ref get it right, did he not? Because it just keeps going.
You can't, I think, get rid of the video ref. All things considered, the video ref still does more right than wrong. What unfortunately is wrong is that the video ref, more often than not, and we can talk all as much as we want about last week's call with Bradman Best and Tavita Funa. For the most part, they're going to the letter of the law. Now, I personally have not seen much of that replay. I only saw the replay once. To the letter, and you can correct me if you want, to the letter of the law, the video ref does have a case. But in the feel of the game, in the moment of the game, and the fact that the contact was barely there and he had eyes for the ball, it's a dodgy decision. And then obviously, a minute later, Addo Carr goes over and scores.
Well, Annesley already come out and said it was the wrong decision. And it feels like Annesley's doing that every week, at least once a week. And it feels like the majority of the times he's doing it, it's the big games. It's the top 8 games. And that's the issue.
It's not even necessarily the fact that it's the big games, but it's big decisions within. It's game-changing or game-deciding decisions. Last week...
The perfect example of that, at the end of the game, they went on about that Trebojevic pass that was backwards that got called forwards. And the Eels players said that makes up for the one last week. No one mentioned about the one the week before because it didn't decide the game. The only time these calls are made into a big deal is if they decide the game, like this one potentially did. Smith converted, so that's 6 points. They lose by 6 points. It's a big call. It's a funny one because if Melbourne go on to win that by 40, we probably don't talk about it. And that's the issue with these calls. If they're a game changer, you talk about them. But if they're not, it's just another mistake from the ref. It's all good.
Let me pose this one to you. And I know that you can go on for 3 hours on this. So give me a one-word answer at most so we can talk about Sunday's games. Bunker, does it go next year?
No.
Do you keep using the same 3 officials every round?
Ref 2 touches?
No. Officials in the box, Maxwell and Chitty.
Gone. All 3 of them. See you later. Chechen's going to retire. He's the first person I put in that box.
Last question, because I like pestering you about referees, because you out of the we know a former touchy. We won't name drop him, but
yeah, he would have liked that.
no, but he's a very good bloke. Best referee outside of Matt Chechen.
It's Jared Sutton. The problem is his brother's in a position of power, which means he probably got there quicker than what he deserved. But right now, it's a flip of a coin between Sutton and Atkins. After today's performance, which I know we're about to talk about, damn, it's really I might be leaning back towards Atkins. But it's those two. And if the grand finals tomorrow, you're flipping a coin, one of those two have got it. If anyone else, Ben Cummins or Ashley Klein especially get it. Klein and Cummins don't make the careers they do in another code because they're not up to scratch. There's so much young talent that's going to be halted by this COVID-19 that are now stuck on the touchlines. Ziggy, don't even try and get me to pronounce his name. New South Wales Cup Grand Final, it was either 2 or 3s in a row.
Yep.
Was just on the verge of making it. Henry Perinara's finally gone. Chris Butler, though he had a shocker on the touchline and seems to be making it as a good ref. But yeah, your top two are definitely Sutton and Atkins. Jerry and Atkins, then Junior Sutton and Chechen would be fighting for 3 and 4. Klein, Cummins, and then the rest.
So I'm going to go Chechen. Chechen is the most respected referee by the players. He makes the right calls and the big calls and the right decisions for me.
His biggest thing, he hasn't been getting the big games to know if he's still up to the big games.
Oh, I have no
That's
doubt.
the issue.
You can throw him in there, no doubt.
You probably could.
The thing do you remember the game a couple of years ago in Melbourne where he blew nearly 40 penalties because the referees associated? Again, it was Sharks Melbourne.
Yeah,
because it was him making a statement.
He done what he was told to do and got dropped for it. And ever since then, he's never been close to the top game of the round. And this is what I was talking about, the click. There is a click within the ref ranks.
Chechen, Adkins, Jerry Sutton, Cummins, Ziggy, and you won't like me for this one. 6 should, and in a year will be Belinda Sharp. No, she hasn't got the opportunities, but I tell you what, she goes with her gut, and 95% of the time she's right.
She's better than Casey. I'll just leave it at that.
All right, we're moving on. We've been talking about the referees too long. We're already going to harp on the fact that I think this is the worst officiated game of the round. But Parramatta got up, top of the table. It was a dogged, gritty, disgusting game if you're looking for attack. But, oh, my goodness, the goal line defense of both sides was second to none.
It was the game of the round. Bloody Matt Noble trying to talk up the game of the round, Melbourne Raiders. Seriously, what's the guy on?
He gets paid a lot for voiceover.
Not wrong. I was sick and tired of hearing that crap all weekend about, it's Melbourne, it's the Raiders, they played in the grand final or whatever. Well, not even the grand final. It was the preliminary final last year, and it's this and it's that. Mate, you've got two sides that are missing players that aren't playing their best right now. All right, Melbourne beat an understrength and underperforming Rooster side last year. It's just, no. This was the game of the round, and it didn't live up to it. It was absolutely pathetic. It was, it
was a dogfight.
It was this was a 1980s type game, because if the ground was looked after like they used to be in the 80s, it would have been a mud pit by the end of it, by how hard it was raining at the end. The defense by both of these sides was amazing. I'm trying to not be biased here, but the only try that the Knights scored was off a bull penalty. I'll hold the second part of that word. McCulloch scores off a reset to the tackle counts. Wonga Blake, what was it? A penalty for late, or was it a penalty for high, or was it a penalty for both?
Are we
Because
talking
I've
about
watched the
one that got pulled
replay.
back a minute later?
It was either 3 or 4 tackles later at the end of the set. Now,
Yeah. So
was it late? Was it high? What was it?
It was late. So here's my issue with that. My issue is not the fact that it was a penalty, because I am fine with it being a penalty. Heck, I'm even fine with it being a report. But it's the fact that it took them a minute to figure that one
That's
out.
my thing. So
with the change of possession.
If it's a high shot and it's foul play, you can go back. But if it's a high shot and it's foul play, that means you're getting rid of the bloke. You're not just putting him on report. You're saying, mate, you're having at least a 10-minute break. It wasn't worth 10 in the bin. If it's a late hit, it should have been penalised once that play was dead. So once that tackle was completed, it should have been penalised. The fact that I don't have it as either. I don't have it as late. I don't have it as high.
It was late.
I've
got no qualm with it being late. Wonga, I don't think it's like the other one, because he had 3 or 4. That was definitely the worst. He could have at least made the attempt to pull out.
It's your responsibility, though, if you are the defender, you cannot hit the head of an attacking player. The penalty was wrong. That's it. End of story. Penalty was wrong. 9th score off it. Shouldn't have been a try, because they shouldn't have had the ball. The Eels have only let in, if I was correct, it was 2 tries in the second half this season, and they were both against the Roosters. One of them was with 10 men.
They've let in points in 3 of the 9 second halves this year, I believe is what you sent me.
3 times. It was 3 times. So it was, one of them was against the Roosters with the Raiders. They let in a couple of late tries against the Raiders. The Panthers, they held to 0 in the second half, and I think it might have been Manly's late comeback.
Oh, mate, you're making the brain.
It would have been Manly. So pretty much, like their second half defense is the best in the comp. Long story short, that's what I was getting at anyway. I should have just said that from the start. Their defense is the best in the comp in the second half.
Yeah.
I can't remember the last time I don't think I've ever been able to say that as an Eels supporter.
Look, we're not going to keep harping on the penalty. I'm just going to say, look, I'm fine with it being a penalty. I'm fine with it being on report, and leaving that one as that. You're trying not to be biased. I will. I do not remember the last time that, as a Parramatta supporter, I've said that I am happy with our halves defensively. Jai Field had
it's Jay.
Whatever they bloody call.
I fall into it. No, it's Jay. It is Jay. It's spelled Jai, but it's pronounced Jay.
Spoiler alert, if this gets up before Team of the Week, Jay Field is in my Team of the Week on the bench, not because of his attack, because he attacked like crap, but his defense saved a hat-trick against Fitzgibbon, and that's what won Parramatta the game.
100%. And that's what makes Parramatta a premiership threat this year, their defense. They've got it. You've either got it or you don't. This year, they've got it. They do not stop. They slide one side to another. I'm an Eels fan. I don't want to get caught up in the emotion of being on top of the ladder since round 2, which if you add COVID into it, it's been, 4 months now?
Turn it up, Damon. Turn it up.
You know what I mean. It's honestly, I don't remember the last time they've defended this well. It was probably pre our existence on this earth.
01.
When they were
05. 05. The 05 season pre-finals.
Did we defend that well, or did we just score a lot more tries?
We defended until
I think both of them were the same. I think both of them it was more like an under-20 season. We'll score points like crazy.
The thing that worries me is that a lot today we got caught coming in, Sivo and Wanga Blake more than anything else. And today, our sliding defense saved it. But if we were to come up against Melbourne, where we'll assume that they have Munster back by the time that we play them, because I think we've got them in 2 or 3 weeks. If they come in and you have Munster, Pappenhausen, Movorovsky, Adokar, Vunivalu, and we'll say Marion Seve, there is a chance that if we get caught sliding in, Melbourne put 40 on us.
Yeah, if we've got Moses back, I have our back 7 to their back, like the backs 1 to 7. I've got ours over theirs every day of the week. If you're talking at 1-on-1, tell me I'm wrong. As an Eels fan, tell me I'm wrong. Who do you have in their back 7 that's better than ours? Gutho against
Gutho beats Pat.
I've got Gutho.
Adokar beats Ferguson. Right now, Adokar beats Ferguson.
Not in defence, though. If you're talking defence, no.
Overall.
Because if you're talking...
Overall.
Why?
Adokar is more of an attacking threat. And see...
Yeah, but Ferguson's probably the best defensive winger in the game, so you'll take it. Good luck. Try and get past him.
I have Sivo over Vunivalu. Sivo, I think, is the better attacking threat. Both are dog crap at defence.
That's it.
But
and Ferguson, then I've got Jennings over. Yeah. I've got Jennings over Olam, and I've got Waka Blake over Momorowski.
I'll give you Jennings over Olam. Blake and Movorovsky, I'm gonna sit on the fence there.
I'll agree with you. Adokar's the better attacker of the two, but Ferguson is the better defence of the two, and they cancel each other out. The issue is speed, and if you're talking about the overlap, yes, I can see that being an issue. But Ferguson, he'd have to be one of, if not the best defensive winger in the game.
Yeah.
He just positions himself so well. Like, he done it today. Best had multiple opportunities where it looked like he was going to go out, and Ferguson just always made the right decision, whether to come in on his centre or stay on the winger. He just, as a defensive winger, I think he'd be up there as the best winger in the game, defensive read-wise. His attack's been poo. I sent you something today. What is it, 300 and something days since he last scored a try?
Yeah, he hasn't scored this year. I've got Munster
Remember
over...
that backflip round 1?
Yeah. I've got Munster over Brown, and I'm not saying that.
Please, Brown's the Dalian medalist right now. Brown is an absolute beast.
Brown is a beast.
Andrew Johns.
Munster has big game experience, and that is why I have Munster over Brown, because everything else.
Yeah. To be fair, I'll be fair actually. So I've got them 6-1. That's the one they've got on ours. Actually, I'd say 6. 5-1 and
1. 5-1 and 1.
Yeah, 5-1 and 1.
Yeah, I'm still going Adokar over Ferguson because of the overlap, because I think Fergo gets burnt for speed on the outside. Moses over Hughes. Where they have us, if they have us, is
it's the hooker and the 5'8", and that's it.
I was going to say bench too. I think they've got better bench depth than we do. Bench depth.
The biggest thing. They don't know what their best bench is because they want Brendan Smith to start. Brendan Smith is the best bench player if he's on the bench in the comp.
If and when Kamikamica comes back, you have Brandon Smith, Asafa Solomona, just waiting ready for some tired forwards to come on, or to come on with some tired forwards on the back end of their stint. Smith will go under and Asafa Solomona goes over the top.
I understand that.
That's the best prop bench in the league.
Yeah. And that's the other thing. Our starting props can almost play 80 minutes now. And they're two of the best props in the game.
Yeah.
Junior Paulo, how he does it at that weight is... Blocker Roach can't even explain it. Blocker Roach used to play big minutes as a prop.
Blocker can't explain.
He can't explain how Junior Paulo does it. Junior Paulo does it 30 kilos heavier than Blocker Roach used to, and the game's quicker now than what it used to be.
Yeah.
The best thing that Brad Arthur's doing right now, he's rotating his bench every week. Obviously, they're not getting games in New South Wales Cup right now, so he's constantly keeping those other guys fresh, which means whenever they're playing, they've got a point to prove. We saw it today with I can't even pronounce his game, but you've got the debutant.
Yep.
Played it, just done his job, and that's the thing. The starters are doing their job. Gower played his 100th game today. Comes in, does his job. Nothing special. They're only on the field for a limited amount of time, and I think that's more the issue with the Eels. The bench doesn't do a hell of a lot. They've got a job to do the job. If there's an injury, in other words, if Paulo or Campbell Gillard go down injured in the first 20 minutes, that's where the Eels will struggle.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the bench this week, in theory, you could put Nathan Brown at prop and Niokore plays lock.
Yes.
Or Utokamanu, I think that's how you say it.
But Brown's lock today was near on best on the field.
Yeah.
As a lock. And that's what I mean. You're taking away, if Campbell Gillard or Paulo get injured, you're taking away from the Eels' best strength. Two potential representative props this season once Origin comes around. And that's not even being the bias. That's just saying what previous Origin players have said that they would have as their starting props on form right now. They would have the Eels two as the starting New South Wales props. That's how good those two are going.
Yeah. All right. Gower, like you said, just comes in, does his job, and Takarangi can play centre, can play second row. Is the Cook Islands not fixed?
Can play halfback. I was going to say can play 5'8". He can do everything pretty much except hooker because he's bloody 7 foot tall and would be able to bend down that far.
Yeah. Like if Jennings or Blake goes down, it's a straight swap because he's played half his career as a centre.
Exactly, and he could play in the wing. Like, really, he could out jump most wingers.
All right, now you're pushing it a bit, but real quick before we jump on to the absolute thrashing of the round, Parramatta fans, as a Parramatta fan, are you starting to look at grand final tickets?
If I could buy them already, I would have. It's this season has been. If we win it, I won't say, "Oh, it's only because of COVID." Blah blah blah. It's been set up for us to win. When the injuries have happened, when we first the Titans, there was 2 or 3 serious injuries coming out of that game. Reid Marnie, who we didn't mention in this earlier, I know Harry Grant's doing well. Reid Marnie's the future Queensland hooker. The guy's an absolute beast. His injury against the Titans, if COVID doesn't happen, he misses 6 weeks. I don't think we have that roll on. Imagine if we played 2 or 3 more weeks, the Eels don't have a backup hooker. We're going on about all these backup players. How will Jai Field win in defence? How well, if we lose a prop, we can move Nathan Brown. Niokore comes in, blah, 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 blah. We do not have a backup hooker. He's the difference between us winning the comp and not winning the comp this year. If we play the grand final, I am putting the double up on Clive Churchill medalist, Eels to win with Reid Marnie.
It's either going to be Marnie, Moses, or the King. But, yeah, I guess the only other thing from a Parramatta standpoint, if he were to go down, Will Smith or Jai Field?
Neither. That's the issue. I'm not confident in either as a hooker. That's the issue.
Good luck finding a hooker if you're Parramatta. All right, final game of the round. Now, I projected the Dragons to get up in this one. I tipped Dragons. I bloody well thought this was going to be a lot closer than what it was. 34-4 in favour of St. George Illawarra in what easily was their best game of the season.
I was cooking dinner. I didn't see the whole game. I unfortunately went Manly. One of only 2 games I got wrong this week. I can't say a lot on it, but it just shows how much Manly are missing Travojevic and Walker. Fanua Blake also in the guts. But was it Manly were that bad? As someone that didn't watch a lot, was Manly that bad, or was McInnes being lock and Hunt coming into the hooker, playing the full 80 in their positions, finally the right switch?
Oh, it was the right
McGregor.
switch. It was absolutely the right switch. Hunt arguably man of the match.
So is that what it was? Was it more the Dragons played to their potential more so than Manly just missing a hell of a lot of players? Mixture of both? What was it?
It was a mix of both. Manly don't look like the same team that they were a month ago. Even without Walker, they were fine because you have Croker, you have Cade Cast, you have depth and pretty handy depth in that as well. So I don't know if you saw the second try for Matt Duffy, 30th minute.
The intercept?
Yes. If
I saw that.
If Turbo's there, Manly score. Turbo's not there. Elliott's a couple of steps behind and I think on the wrong side. Lomax puts himself in a great position, picks it, turns 15, says, "Here you go, Matt. Go outrun Joel Thompson." And
that's it.
Yeah. No. It wasn't I don't think that Manly played awfully. Their attack is crap. But it was more so that the Dragons have their spine. They have their one.
Because I can't remember the last time the Dragons scored more than 30.
It's been a while.
That's what I mean. Like, for the points to be that big, it must have been one hell of a game. Everyone has been saying it for weeks that Hunt needs to start 9.
I said it last week.
We were just talking about possible Queensland hooker. Hunt's the one guy that probably takes it over Reid. He is a hooker.
Hunt's the incumbent.
That's it. He is a hooker. He can tackle. He can play 80 minutes in the guts. He has a kicking game. He has a passing game, and there's less pressure on him. He can just do what he needs to do as a hooker.
Arguably, from a club perspective, Hunt, because we know he can kick. It takes pressure off Norman to be that playmaker because Clune ran for 103 meters today. Clune was superb.
Clune's a runner. Clune is a runner. I think it was Jamie Soward was saying about like this guy watching him in New South Wales Cup. He is a running half.
Yeah, and he does it well. 11 runs, I think, for 103 meters. And
that's brilliant.
That banana kick for Norman's try in the 76th.
Yeah, I missed that.
It was class. He goes left side on the flank. Beautiful banana back. Who was it? It reminds you of a Kronk banana inside for Slater. Brilliant. That's what it reminds you of. It just was perfect. Lomax and Aitken are your centers from here on out. Tim Laffey will never see another game in a Dragons uniform, barring injury, assuming he doesn't go back to Canterbury. Look, I'm going to go out on a limb here, and you're going to chastise me for it. Dragons make finals this year. Just. I think they're 8.
I can see him knocking I'm looking at the sides. I can see 2 teams in the top 8 that don't make the finals right now, and they're coming 7th and 8th. Yeah. They're the 2 sides that don't make it. Now, the sides that aren't in the 8 that potentially make it, if the Dragons can keep going, yes. The only other Sea Eagles once Turbo's back, yes. Sharks, too many injuries. So I could see it. Realistically, I could also just see the Sea Eagles going 7th, Raiders dropping down to 8th, and Tigers just finishing 9th like always.
We are 9th again. So here's the thing. Raiders, Tigers, Sharks, Eagles, Dragons. They're the only 5 teams I give a
None of them are going to win the comp. They're only making up the numbers.
But round 10, Raiders play the Roosters. Roosters win that. Tigers play the Broncos. you would expect the Tigers at Leichhardt to get up there. Dragons play the Dogs. Dragons by 30. Who else am I looking at? Manly Eels, even with it being a Brookie, even with it being a derby, Parramatta gets up. We push on to round 11. Tigers play Parramatta. Again, Parramatta. This isn't me being biased. This is me being realistic here. Cowboys, Sea Eagles. Jeez, that's a tough one. I'd probably go the Cowboys.
Depends if Morgan's back.
As of right now, I say the Cowboys. Sharks, Dragons.
Off today's performance.
Sharks v Dragons.
Dragons won it the other day. Didn't the Dragons win that the other week?
Yep, but that very well could be the game of the round. Raiders, Bunnies. Probably the Bunnies.
Bunnies. But the Raiders are gone. The Raiders are shot without Hodgson. They do not have a hooker.
Yeah.
They're in the same position we are. They do not have a hooker.
Well, they've got Billy. They do have.
He's not a hooker. He's been playing prop.
I know he's been playing prop, but he was and has for the rest of his career been an out-and-out hooker. Yeah, he's become a big beefy boy, but he's still got the speed to go out of dummy half.
He's not good enough to be a hooker at NRL level. I'd be saying the same thing if we lost Reid tomorrow. We would not win the comp. We would struggle to. We're high enough now that we would stay in the 8, but we would not threaten the finals. I honestly, Hodgson gone, Raiders gone.
So who do you put? Tom Starling? Because I don't know who else they have.
And that's the thing. Yeah. In saying that, who was Harry Grant 6 weeks ago?
Yeah.
You never know. I'm just saying, Hodgson is one of the best hookers in the game. They don't have that solid halfback. They've got more of 2 running halves. They've got Williams, who likes to run on one side, Wyden, who likes to run on the other. Hodgson controls it all. He's the glue
Williams
of that
is a
team.
kicking half. Williams kicks and runs. He doesn't give a ball outside. Best kicking half in the competition, George Williams. One of the best running halves, but he's not the one that's putting people through a gap. And
he's not controlling the team. That's what they're missing in Hodgson. He is the controller.
They do.
It's almost like
they have Matt Frawley. He hasn't played much, and he is a half by trade, but he can play right. He can play rake. The only issue is his defense. I don't know if he's a good defender.
And that's the other side to the story. It's normally if a club loses their half their shot, the Raiders could have lost Williams tomorrow for the rest of the season and kept Hodgson, and they'd still be a grand final threat. That's how much I rate him.
Yeah.
He probably is the second best hooker in the game behind Smith.
In terms of past form, yeah, I'll give that one to you. Current season, I've got Harry Grant and Reid Marnie over him. And
they're just
arguably Ben Hunt.
Well, yeah, but that's it. That's a waiver form. But if you're talking about the whole season, Reid's on his way there.
Consistency, yes. Josh Hodgson is the second best hooker in the competition.
Exactly. And now they've lost him.
So what are we saying? We're saying Raiders gone, Dragons.
If a side that's outside the top 8 right now make the finals, I've still got Manly, depending on when Turbo comes back. Turbo's good enough to make that side a premiership winning side because that's how good he is. He just needs to come back in time to get them in the 8.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not going to lie. I've got to throw a cheeky look at sports bet here because the Dragons could be some handy value to make finals. But I don't know.
I guess we're looking at it 2 different ways here. You're talking about just making the 8. I'm talking about if they make the 8, who's a chance of actually making the finals. The Broncos are a chance of making the 8. They've got a good enough side to make the 8.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean they will.
Look, Dragons are $7 to be a top 8 finish.
that's all of a sudden that's looking really good. But who have they got to play? If I'm not wrong, a lot of the games they haven't exactly been playing the top of the ladder. I
Well,
know they
here,
versed Raiders recently. They
let,
versed the Roosters.
let's go through. We'll go through the rest of the Dragons season before we wrap up. Because Paul Matty Wright, we appreciate you editing this, mate. But you're gonna have a fun time. Dragons. They go dog. We're going to base it off current form, assuming every team stays the same, barring one or two changes.
Yep,
Dragons Bulldogs.
they win.
Dragons Sharks.
We'll say, for the argument's sake, we'll say they win.
Round 12, Dragons Bunnies. I'm going Bunnies.
They lose.
Dragons Roosters. Don't really think that's much
By
of an
50.
argument. Dragons Eels.
By 50 again. So all that for and against they've just gained is gone.
Dragons Broncos.
Where?
TBA, but it's got Broncos listed as the home team by the looks of it.
So Broncos in 5 weeks' time?
Yeah, Broncos round 15.
Yeah, I've got Broncos. In 5 weeks' time, I've got the Broncos.
If the Broncos are playing like how they are now?
If they play like they did against the Bulldogs, yes. Again, I didn't watch today's game, but they're versing a Manly side that's absolutely terrible without Trbojevic.
Fair enough.
So we've only got them 2. That's maybe 3 wins out of their next 6. Is that you know what I mean?
Well, so they round 16 Titans.
Okay, I've got them that.
I think
so. I've got them at 3. You've got them at 4.
Oh yeah. Cowboys Dragons. Probably the Cowboys.
If Morgan's back and it's up there, Cowboys.
Again, these venues are TBA, so
yeah.
They're only listed on outside of the Warriors. They're all listed alphabetically. Round 18, They go the Raiders without Hodgson. I give them the win.
I give them a good chance in that one.
19 against the Knights.
Knights are probably playing for a potential top 4 spot that game, so I'm going the Knights.
They finish up round 20 against the Storm.
I've got them at best 5 wins to finish the season. Most likely 4 more.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm going 5 wins there if I've done my math right. That puts them on 16 points. They would need the Raiders in the next, from round 10 through round 20. They need the Raiders to win 3 and to get thumped in a couple. They need the Tigers to at most win 4 and get thumped in a couple.
They're not making it.
Look, I'm still tempted to throw 20 on them at $7. From a gambling standpoint.
From a gambling standpoint, $7 isn't too bad. If you said 10, I'd definitely be on it. $7 is probably where it's worth. It's worth a risk. Come, wave your money at me.
Yeah, but yeah. All right. Well, 83 minutes later. Have fun, Matthew. We are done and dusted.
He'll be able to cut plenty of.
Yeah, he'll be right. We are done and dusted with the round 9 review. Oh, Danaan has cut himself off, the cheeky little bugger. But we appreciate your company. If you have any suggestions, anything you want to see, chuck a comment in the channel in terms of CKM Rugby League. Like us on Facebook. Throw a couple of comments, share the page, share the posts, subscribe on YouTube. That's pretty much it. For Danaan Kurtz, Luke Jobson, we'll catch us for the round 10 preview in a couple days. Cheers.